Blog Talk Radio.
Yo, what's up, world? It's badass thuggin' like I usually do, and you better turn it up, bust some speakers out, cause we off the motherfucking cuff. You dig how we do it? Dog Pound Gangsters 2000 and beyond. Black.
Yo, check this out. This is your girl, Cola Vogue, and I'm chilling with my boys right here on Off the Cuff Radio. Cause we off the cuff right now. You dig?
Bet. What's up? It's your boy Lil Yap from UNLV, bragging up from the river, cooling with my homies and my family at Off the Cuff Radio. Y'all be sure to tune in on Fridays and get the latest scoop and find out what's happening. You heard me?
Tiffany Lavon.
And it's Queen Crazy, your girl's favorite bartender.
And we're from
Sex on the Rocks podcast.
Alright, you're now tuning in to Off the Cuff Radio.
Yeah, because they keep representing that real hip-hop. Yo, much love.
Alright.
Y'all, this is Miss Irresistible giving a shout out to the livest show on Friday nights Off the Cuff Radio. And I'm live from the 704. Make sure y'all tune in for the blazing hot music.
Hey y'all, this is Stacey Lachey giving a shout out to King Eric and Off the Cuff Radio.
What's shaking, y'all? This is the Grand, one half of Lost Cause and 1/3 of that Drive Time thing. Sending my love to the homies over at Off the Cuff Radio. Tune in every Friday night for some real deal hip-hop conversation. These dudes are the connoisseurs of this thing. You already know what it is. BX Stand Up, HUD City, we're shaking. Peace.
Yo, this is Dope Fresh to Dine, and y'all tuned in to the most raw, uncut show on radio, the Guillotine Team, Off the Cuff. And yo, Eric, Sandman, off of these clowns' heads.
Calm before the storm. From whence I came, express my pain, shape and mold my frame. I go by the name, my OC, my PKA went on stage. Plus in real life, this here's my government title. Idol to many, not the truth the naysayers. Better avenue walkers as British walkers. Way before Obama was thought to be in office. Lost of friends in jail and some dead in the coffin. Way of life and music has since gone corporate. Picture the days past, now it's a whole different portrait. Me dumbing down would be a sign of weakness. Throwing in the towel as Victor Ortiz did. Protect yourselves at all times, my guards up. Keeping the odds even with the flow and the bars up. The star child leave them starstruck, knowing his engine won't run on its own without spark plug. If you can read my thoughts, what you discover is mind-blowing. Even when I'm asleep, my mind going. My subconscious stay alert, revealing the questions, the answers. Otherwise, I don't know what be the norm for others. For me, moving slow-mo, seeing deception and truth be told. Yeah, setting my ways till you prove me wrong. Subpar ain't part of my report. The blood guards are feeding for a taste of my law. For OC addicts, sorry for the wait. Tie off your arms, there's another dose. A few years withdraw. Been a bit too long, I know. Vent, talk shit, let it out. Exhale, time to let it go. From a league of extraordinary men, so what's expected is nothing below perfection. Never lost that connection. When in doubt, life's about chances. Wilted trees only grow new branches. Words paint a canvas within a realm of questions and answers. Mistake of a panther lurking. I know the game's hurting. One thing's for certain. When it's all said and done, who supplies the best service? Take a look around. Who's well worth the purchase? Y'all fooled by these aliens, but now I'm as an earthling. If you can read my thoughts, what you discover is mind-blowing. Even when I'm asleep, my mind going. My subconscious stay alert, revealing the questions, the answers. Otherwise, I don't know what be the norm for others. For me, moving slow-mo, seeing deception and truth be told. Yeah, setting my ways till you prove me wrong. Yeah, there's nothing but wealth in my soul. So the slogan, men lie, numbers don't. Read between the quotes a cop out. In the D, getting songs knocked out. Sooner hit the road and rock out. And pre-recording, I can fix my mistakes, but it's another level profits. You niggas need stop it. How far do the lies go before you expose things? Pussy ain't a man's downfall no more. New things, stretch your lives far as it can go. Product placement, live shit is way down in the basement. Crime talk, promote murder, catch a case. Yeah. If you can read my thoughts, what you discover is mind blowing. Even when I'm asleep, my mind going. My subconscious stay alert, revealing the questions, the answers. Otherwise, I don't know what be the norm for others. For me, moving slow mo, seeing deception and truth be told. Yeah, set in my ways till you prove me wrong.
And we are now tuned in at episode 346 of the most livest and direct hip-hop show coming at y'all on Friday nights. I'm your host, King Eric the Great, and you're now tuned in at Off the Cuff Radio, and I'm sponsored by Buddy Boy Entertainment, sponsored by Jesse's Boutique, sponsored by Core Financial, and I have my co-host, T-Max, with the facts in the building.
It's another Friday Night Light. OTC is the place to be. King and myself, our co-host and spirit, the Sandman, Lady Chinchilla, So Illa. We are live and direct on the air. And King, in a series of legendary shows that we have done, this is going to add on to one of the most legendary shows that we have ever done.
Most definitely.
This gentleman that we have, man, this gentleman we have on tonight, to call him a legend is an understatement. To call him the consummate example of hip-hop is too modest. As a member of the most esteemed DITC, Digging in the Crates crew, you can call him otherworldly creator, outstanding cypherist, or you can just call him Omar Corrido. This man has created some of the most illest compositions of classics in hip-hop history, and we are so, at Off the Cuff Radio, humble. We are privileged to have the living legend on. OC, y'all. What it do?
Damn. That's a ill intro. Word up.
Respect right
and
there.
I'm episode 346, huh? I'm gonna remember that.
Sir.
Yes. What's going on with you, man?
What's going on,
It's an honor and privilege. Chilling, man.
It's my honor and privilege to be on y'all show, man.
Definitely, man. I mean, listen. I mean, we're looking at over 26 years pushing in terms of when you dropped your debut Word Life in 1994.
Right.
Your opening verse, you like the vitamins and minerals. I mean, it was like we heard Time's Up, and we were, I think, heads everywhere. King and myself and so many others were like, "Yo, who is this kid right here?"
Right.
And
well,
I mean,
my very first opening verse, is in Time's Up, though. It's a song called Fudge Pudge.
Organized Confusion.
My opening verse, Organized Confusion. Prince Paul, Pharaoh Monch, two of my mentors to this day. And my opening verse to that was performance signifies cultivated, widespread it. Many, many lyrics memorized, embedded in my think tank, sharp as a shank knife. And the rest is history. That's where my roots start in the game.
Dude,
then Time's Up. Yep.
Man.
I mean, know what, man? You that verse, I'm gonna tell you, man. When I first heard that, I'm gonna put that up on the levels of one of the strongest debuts I ever heard, and because you was like in your 20s, rocking it out with legends like that. Cause That was up there to me next to Nas at Live at the Barbecue when he said it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah, it was. I feel like that. I just don't say it, you know. I don't talk, and I'm not a demigod. You know what I'm saying? I'm a human being. I'm a man first before I'm an artist, before I'm anything, any of those things. But I know what I do when it comes to my second nature, and that's, you know, with the music. Nobody ain't got to put me in no categories, top fives, none of that. People, y'all can call me legends. I never call myself a legend. But I know what I am. And as long as the people understand that, I'm good with that. I wasn't good with that for a long time. I couldn't understand why people wasn't looking at me as a Jay or a Nas or a Big. And I figured it out finally.
Yeah, and, you know, one thing about it, is, you know, King, you know, and myself, you know, we're older, so, you know, there are, if, you know, we're very, King, definitely one of the most dopest journalists that I've had the pleasure of hosting a show with and knowing.
Right.
You know, King's pretty much just as much as I am a hip-hop historian on it, and where a lot of heads would say, because they're considered to be, if you could say the first golden age of hip-hop, you could say in 85 with LL, Run DMC, BC Boys, that era when it really began to get traction, and then the second golden era going into 88. Of course, we have, you know, of course, KRS, we have Public Enemy, X-Clan, you know, this is the age of the, you know, the Afrocentric awareness, you know, the Black to Africa movement. And then we have your era going into 94 and 95. You know, this is Biggie, you know, this is Nas, this is Wu-Tang, this is you. I mean, this is, of course, E-Rule.
Right.
I mean, you all...
It was East to West Coast, man, like down south, up north, like it was all over. Like, see, my thing with the whole rating system is I never really rate my era because it was just too many dope MC. It was too many dope artists coming out of that. We had a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? So it's just too many to say one person or two or three was the best anything. It was just too many. You had dudes coming from down south. You had dudes coming from West Coast. You had dudes coming from the Midwest. You had the Crucial Conflicts. You had all these different gumbos. You had Twisted here before me. Twisted before me. You hear what I'm saying? Twisted was before me. You know what I'm saying? People don't understand. I'm like, yo, it was too many incredible artists to pick, you know, a top 10. It was just too many incredible artists, man. So when you go back to our predecessors, King, G-Raps, the Slick Rich, the Rakims, the LLs, the Run DMC, you know, it wasn't as many of them as us, but they were great. They were just great blueprints to something that we took somewhere else. And like I said, it was just too many solos, groups that was just making powerful music, whether they was from New York or San Bernardino. Everybody was just great. You know what I'm saying? And the industry basically was like, yo, we gonna pick and choose who we feel are the quote unquote kings of rap. And it's like, nah, man, I'm not with that shit. They put a crown on me in the source, and if you ever look at that picture, I was not happy with that.
Tell us about that. In terms of how that whole conception,
Yeah, like, yo, Chris said it though. Kings lose crowns. Kings definitely lose crowns. Teachers, you know, teachers are like students. You're like a student for life. You're a student, you know, for living. You know what I'm saying? For being a human being. That's a lifetime thing until you know, not physically here no more. But a king can actually get someone who's jealous in his kingdom or in his family.
And he's dethroned.
And they want to offer him. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, like I said, the Run DMCs in them, to me, they were the blueprints. So whatever they said they were, they are. You know what I'm saying? Before them, Kaz and them, whoever they say they proclaim they were, they are. But us, I think it was just too much greatness coming out of the 90s, from the 91 on, that to pick and choose who's the best anything was just like, nah, you can't do that.
Yeah, when you talk about that 90s era, especially, of course, we talk about because you know me and King had to butter you up a little bit because we had to send you some of the stuff from our collection. So
right, right, I've seen it.
That wasn't even everything that we had. That's like just,
right.
But that 90s era was special, man, and especially taking it to 94, Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
still special.
It's like, we. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Nah, I mean it's still special, man. I think I reposted something Get from Goody Mob said, and it's the truth. Like, I'm getting calls now about my catalog. A lot of us are. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yo, man, like, we got the most from the 90s to the early, maybe mid-2000s. They want our catalog. Our shit is the stuff they gonna put in the vaults and shit.
In the time capsule, yeah.
Up. Yeah. You know what I mean? So to speak. So, I've been getting a lot of calls about my catalog. And, monetary wise I do okay. But every artist should be well off from putting out a record. It's more than 8 billion people on the planet, man. Somebody gonna like your shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's next to impossible to believe, when some of us begin to starve or not, be able to take care of families and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I take it that deep, man. I don't talk too much. I don't do too many interviews. I've been doing it as of late in the past few years, but I view things different with the music.
Because it seems like you let your music do the talking, and you maintain that level of mystique that a lot of artists they really kind of lack these days. Because overexposure, it kills kind of like the aura of greatness.
Yeah, it does, man. And I had an argument with one of my homies. Well, not an argument, a debate about that last week, and I said, yo, he told me, basically, I don't put out enough music. I said, shit, I put out 2 albums. Me and Showbiz put out 2 albums back to back. Prior to that, we put out DITC studio sessions. Prior to that, I put out a project in Australia with Debonair P. Prior to that, I put out another project with AG. Prior to that, I put out Trophies. Like, yo, all the way up until now.
Yeah, with Apollo
So
Brown.
I'm going backwards. Yeah, I'm going backwards on you. So you count those albums. You know what I'm saying? That's like 6, 7 joints. It's like, yo, I'm supposed to put out an album every 30 days? And he said, yeah. I said, wow. I'm not built the way these other cats is these days. I refuse to do that. I can do it, but it won't be no quality stuff.
Right, and it's crazy though because. Oh yeah, go ahead, yeah. But it's crazy when you
actually right. The mystique, not to cut you off, the mystique is what keeps me interested in artists. This what kept me interested in Rakim all these years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it kept me interested in Slick Rick. Maybe other people might not, check. I check for them, whatever they doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I looked up to them. I followed their, they helped me shape and mold me. So, you know what I'm saying? The mystique is very important, man. And for a person to reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, it's cool, but it takes a little of the air out of the mystique of meeting somebody.
Right.
As opposed to listening to their music. And, I think, if you got time in the game, that's one thing. But That's why you got to give it up to younger generation. Like, they with that, but I'm not with that.
Understood. And I think everybody's ascent to celebrity is different in their sojourn, because what you said resonates so heavily in terms of the mystique, the aura of you know, that clandestine presence per se.
Right.
Because you mentioned Slick Rick, and we got so much to get to. Thank God we got 2 hours and maybe a little more, because we got a lot to talk about. When you talk about Slick Rick in terms of, he's one of the undisputed storytelling legends of hip hop. What was it like for you in terms of a fan to hear him on the new Griselda project with Westside?
You know what? I didn't even hear Westside's project. But I can, Rick is just one of the, put it like this.
Mm-hmm.
You could pop in Great Adventures of Slick Rick right now, and it don't sound like it was made in '88.
Man, that album is just an unbelievable classic. You know, when you talk about,
he's not just the best storyteller, man. He's probably one of the best writers the 20th century or the 21st century has ever saw, ever heard. Like, that work is not given enough credit. Like, it should be in the museums. I'm not talking about just the hip hop museum. Like, this should be in the museum, American Museum, man, Smithsonian type shit. Like, that album changed everything. It's one of the albums that changed hip hop. Period. Like, I mean, does that answer your question? You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Like, so to be on a Griselda project, like, they know. Like, people talk about them crazy. I said, yeah, but this is their design. This is their time. So them putting out projects every month, every couple of months, this is the way them Special do it, 38 do it, but my man Rob Rashid, the way they doing that, they supposed to do it that way. You know why? This is their time. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's just, I learned certain things from them, and I keep it moving. But I'm not going to take their whole design and use it for myself because it wouldn't work.
Right.
And not to mention, Slick Rick influence is very underappreciated in hip hop. Cause man, I don't recall a lot of cats wearing fly jewels before he came in.
I don't remember anybody besides the guys that we grew up with. The older guys wearing the way Slick Rick dresses, the way my cousins and my older brothers and them dressed. With the shark skin suits and the Bally's and the British and the, a Oxford loafer, like, and put jewelry on with it. That was basically the Caribbeans, you know what I'm saying? The Jamaicans, the Haitians, that's how they dressed for real. So, people who don't know, the background of New York or just the islands, this is how they rock, you know what I'm saying? So, Rick just brought it, he's a genius, man. I can't even. We'll spend the whole 2 hours talking about Rick because he's just a genius to me. He's probably my number one on if it's any list.
Was he when you decided to undertake MCing as a craft? Because your people, and this is why for King and myself, we're so blessed to be able to do this show with you because we want to do this justice by really giving our audience the whole breadth of your career because I don't think people really, really, really understand how your career has intertwined with so many different legends in terms of that come up. I mean, a lot of people don't even know about the MC Serch Back to the Grill, remix that you did that also had Nas, on it. I mean, this is coming. Did you see? All these people. Yeah.
We was both signed to the dude, so Serch got me and Nas deals, record deals. Like we was signed to his production company, Searchlight Productions.
Like publishing, right?
Yeah. Nah, it was Searchlight Productions. He ain't getting no
Searchlight
publishing off me. He ain't getting no publishing off Nas either. That was, I had no disrespect on my whole part, but that was just a bar.
Understood. Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, if it wasn't for Serch taking that next step, to getting us a record deal, I don't know where I'd be. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, good or bad. I just don't know what my course of history would be.
What were those early days like for you in terms of, the pioneers, in terms of who you were looking, in terms of guys like Cool G, Kane, Slick Rick, Rakim, KRS, all these guys. What was it like in terms of when you were really beginning to get your pen game, developing your pen game, and then ultimately, going, looking for the deal, once you were ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
It was hard, man. It was hard. It wasn't easy. It was fun because we was young. I was young, but it wasn't easy. Like I said, I mentioned early on in the interview, Pharoah and Prince Paul, like, they my mentors to this day. Like, I learned from them, how to pen and how to be my own person and how to find my own identity when it comes to, being an artist. And them dudes used to tell me don't sound like them because I used to bring them, stuff back to here. And they used to be like, it's cool, but, why you want to sound like us? You ain't in our group. Like, you just our little man. Like, and I used to get upset, but it now that I think back, they wasn't doing it to upset me. They was just doing it so I could find my own identity. And, it taught me a lot, man. And they put me on the record the very last minute. So when I did Fudge Pudge, I was already 2 or 3 years into probably trying to, well, I say 2 years into trying to look for, record deals myself. But after I did that record, that's when the spectrum changed. And, it gave people to even want to give me a thought. You know what I'm saying? So fast forward, I go on the Source tour after I put out Fudge Pudge with Organized Confusion. I meet 2 future DITC members, Lord Finesse and Buck Wild. And Finesse brought Buck on the tour. And I didn't remember this, but Buck said everybody was tired of me because I kept playing a song that just came out, but it hit me so hard, it was crazy. And that was P-Rock and CL Smooth, When They Reminisce. That record was, yeah, I was playing that shit on the bus, like, from here to Florida. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how powerful music is to me. You know what I'm saying? And I forged relationships on that tour. I met Biz on that tour. I met MC Serch on that tour. I Ray Benzino and Almighty RSO on that tour. I met Roxanne Shante on that tour. I met the heads of the Source magazine on that tour. It was just crazy. But I didn't know what that was yet. I still didn't know because I didn't get a deal being on tour, you know what I'm saying? And I came home. I never forget, we came off the tour. I had relationships with certain people. I came home, and it was nothing for me to do because I didn't know what to do from there. And then I got a call from Serch, man, and everything changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything just changed after that point. So from 91 to 92, 93-ish, you know, if people see you on the video, they think you rich. They think all this crazy shit. It's not the case.
Right.
I'm struggling. I'm trying to, you know, I'm doing my thing, whatever. And I'm discouraged at the same time. I'm discouraged because I got a major deal. I mean, a major video on TV backed by Walt Disney. You know, Organized Confusion was signed to Hollywood Records.
Hollywood Basic, yeah.
Hollywood Basic, Hollywood Records, Hollywood Basic, and it's Walt Disney. And I ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? You know, this is Walt Disney. Walt Disney owned that label. And then Serch, you know, got a situation, and we was off to the races after that. You know, as quick as I felt like I was ready to quit, everything happened. Nas was popping with Halftime, and It Ain't Hard to Tell. He was signed already, and Serch got a position at Wild Pitch's president or vice president, and he asked me would I be, you know, willing to take a look at Wild Pitch, and I was like, yeah, at this point, I'll go anywhere just to showcase what I could do, and that's all she wrote.
Now, we got to backtrack a little bit, though, because a lot of people really have to understand, like, a lot of the backstories as well, because you gave us a hell of a lot of history behind this. Because a lot of people, you know, because with Nas, of course, on Back to the Grill Again, you know, his first, you know, Halftime was his first official single off the Zebrahead soundtrack, and that was in 1992.
Right.
We wouldn't see Illmatic, you know, of course, we wouldn't see It Ain't Hard to Tell till right around January of 1994. So this is still like a 2-year, you know, and of course the album drops in April 1994. You know, because I mean, and of course I think of because I have this Wild Pitch Classics, and I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this, I believe that they released your song Time's Up on that compilation before your record actually was released, or do I have it backwards?
I think it's after, because I came out after. Okay. Yeah, I came out October '94. Yeah. Got you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, what was that? I mean, but that era, you know, because when you talk about, especially with Pete Rock, they reminisce over you. You know, with that, and you know, we got to give shout out to Pete. You know, Money Earning Mount Vernon, Stand Up, and of course, we got to give. You know, to the original, we got to give credit to the original Tom Scott, you know, in the California, you know, Dreamers, you know, Honeysuckle Breeds album released in 1967. For those who have not heard that whole song, go to YouTube or watch the Boondocks Raleigh was here. You know, you know, but I mean, but hip hop at that time in the 90s was just something ethereal. I mean, it was just something that just held you, and you just knew. Did you all know at that time what you all were really, really in the midst of in terms of this band? In terms of, did you know you all were laying the blueprint for what was going to become this timeless, classic, legendary material that is the very epitome of the culture of which we are the children that we love and adore so much?
I believe some of us did, and I believe some of us didn't. Like, I just heard stories where Nas said he was about to hang it up after the first album, and I was like, well, I never heard that in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never heard him say that, and I didn't know for what reasons he had to say that. I mean, I wasn't around him like that, but I'm like, hang it up. Wow. Like,
what?
You know,
well, I know
we didn't know. We didn't know, man. Some of us knew and some of us didn't. You can't make legends, like I said. You can, you know, that's why I said I acknowledge it if someone says it, you know, with that word, but some, you know, legends for me is the people that paved the way, and they still here today. Like, you know, and I say all that to say hip-hop just turned, 46?
Yeah.
I'm older than hip-hop. I'm 49.
Yeah, I believe
I'm older
August
than
11th. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 1520 Cedric Avenue, the Bronx. Yeah. August 11th.
You know what's wild, guys?
You
know what's wild, too? I think one of the main reasons why he said that he wanted to retire because, man, the competition was so thick at that time. And if that one album, because a lot of cats, they used to put their heart, soul, and body on that debut piece of work. And if it didn't pop off, that was it. We was like, man, I can't do it no more.
Yeah, like nobody, I don't think nobody had the intention of making careers, for the moment. It was for the moment, but the music wasn't. That's what we didn't figure out yet. Like, we didn't figure out, oh shit, like we got formulas. Like these is like math formulas to people. You know what I'm saying? Like, for people to tell me, another human being, that my music saved their lives, or it helped them get through something. I understand that because I feel the same way about other artists. You know what I'm saying? Like, or soul music or R&B. Certain moods and frequencies of music will make you feel a certain way, feel good or feel bad, either way. So. But we didn't know. I don't believe a lot of us knew we was making anything legendary, as people would say.
And one thing about it is that I think that's the era that, like I said, we just hold it so dear. Want to get back to organized confusion for a minute because, of course, and what you said earlier about how with the catalogs, how everybody's really, because all I can say is, though, is that I'm so happy that I have your albums now because I know how much they're going for on eBay.
Right.
And it's like,
I'm happy you got them too, man.
Yeah, because it's like, because when the records are coming out, obviously when we were younger, this was like a big deal on Tuesdays. It was media day. This is when all the stuff would get released. I mean, your work was a must cop. Like things be on the block.
You see how things change, man. You see how it changed.
Yeah.
Like, I look forward to that. I look forward to the parties. The album release party. It's none of that going on no more.
Yeah. And
it's none of that going on, man.
Yeah, and I tell the kids today, I tell the young kids, it's just different now. I'm like, you had to have been there back in the day to really understand how big that was when an album, like you lived that. You were there.
Right.
I mean, tell us.
Right.
I mean,
we went to the parties,
ahead,
man. Like, it was a party every night for an album. Think about that. Like, it was always a party Monday through Sunday. In LA, in New York, in Chicago, in DC, in VA, in North Carolina. It was always a party. It was always an album release party. And they was official albums. Atlanta, I was flying. I remember going everywhere, flying everywhere, driving everywhere, getting relationships with certain dudes, over time in different cities and states, and such and such having a party out here, or the Go, like one of my mans put me up on Go-Go, that was from DC, you know what I'm saying, and he used to come up to New York, and I used to come down to DC sometime, but I met him on the road just on a humble, like I met a lot of guys like that on the road, like, you look like you just, like, you good, you ain't got no care in the world, and you start talking, and dude is from San Antonio. I'm like, wow, what you doing out here? I'm hopping. I got 2 females with me, and it's like, oh, word, and keep in contact with dudes, and and dudes used to be like, yo, it's a party out here. We flying out here, me and my crew. If you and your crew want to meet us out here, and it used to be fun, man. Now it's just like, it's 10 albums in one day, 1 week, 1 year, and they all sound the same, and it's just a different time. I don't want to sound like crazy, but it's just a different time.
No, because we kind of feel the same way about it too. Because see, people really have to understand, is that during that era, me and King on the air, off the air, we talk about this all the time in terms of, because, and this is off the cuff, so we go all over the place like schizos. It's crazy because
right.
what you were saying about, because the styles, like you were talking about the styles with the heavy chains and all that, and like that's what we affectionately joke and call respectfully that old New York. That's
right.
big East movement, that you really, there was signature, that was emblematic of that time, with the ball, the block bosses, the gully goons, all of that, this was that era, and when you look at that era, and when you look at that era, when you talk about what it took to make it, what you were saying about how Nas fell at one time, because now I watched the Time is Illmatic documentary. Now his brother said, Jungle said that he thought at one time that this was just going to be, it was, when Nas got signed, they thought it was just going to be a whatever, we just going to get a little bit of money and we going back to the hood. They didn't know what was coming.
Right.
But it's but you all were, you all were leading a new wave, and I don't think, we were ready for what was coming. I mean, when we look at Organized Confusion, they released, their 3 stellar albums. I have all of them. And especially, but when they did stress the Extinction Agenda. I mean, Straight Bullet Alone by Pharoah Monch. We love Nas, but we know where Nas got I Gave You Power from, and it was from that. That's
not it. I think it's just 2 different perspectives because we all have a story.
Understood. I'm not saying he did it. But that's where you can see the parallels of where he got the inspiration for that.
Well, here's the thing, and this don't take my word for it.
Understood.
I said on Fudge Pudge, what I surprised because OC had skills to kill a whole tribe, and to this day, I had to ask Pharaoh as of recently, like, do Chip like me? And he was like, why you say that? And I was like, I said kill a whole tribe on that song. And I've heard, in my mind, things that Tribe threw darts back at us about, which I didn't pay no attention until somebody hit it to my coat. So I say all that to say, man, like, sometimes you're not, thinking about it. And I definitely didn't mean to diss. I wasn't dissing Tribe. I wasn't dissing Q-Tip, Fife, Ali, none of them. It's Roby, but I could see where he could take that out of context. Yeah. And feel some kind of way. But I don't believe that's Tip's character. As long as I've been, I don't know Tip personally, but I've been around him, we talked, we exchanged numbers, but I'm like, damn, maybe I offended them. Because certain people I interacted with, especially them over the years, we was never cool in that way. As far as like I see everybody else, but I can see where people can take certain things out of context, and I even took it out of context in my mind and was like, damn, man, if he did feel like I said that towards them, that's not. I apologize in the sense of, maybe I should have. It made me become a better writer. Be more specific on how I put things.
Yeah. And the thing
like
about
I said, I gave you power.
Right. Right.
It was that's an incredible record, and Straight Bullet is. Yeah.
And it's crazy because we don't want to miss this out either. We don't want to miss on this either because now of course Fudge Pudge was where you first started in 1991. How did it feel 14 years later on the New Jersey Drive soundtrack when y'all got to team up again for You Won't Go Far? Because that was That was bananas right there.
Yeah, nah, that's crazy. We got the plaques for that too. But you know, the New Jersey Drive soundtrack, Volume 1 and 2 with gold. But you got to think about all the players that was on. It was like, what, 2, 3 volumes?
There was 2.
So
I mean, dude, y'all had J. Rue the Damager, MCA. I mean, y'all the E Brothers.
Total.
I mean, good Lord.
Biggie. You had everybody on this. Woo. Everybody. Anybody who was.
How did they get all y'all together for that? How did they get? Oh, you got to tell us this story of how the industry, how these labels work. Because I mean, at that time, this was huge. That was basically that was work for hire. You know what I'm saying? So, wow.
I got picked for the soundtrack, I believe, and you know, I got Pharaoh and Prince on it. Now, this was my return. You know, my loyalty to these dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I got called them I got called to do the soundtrack, and I hired them to produce and rhyme on it. The irony in that. So, you know, record companies didn't get everybody in the room back in the day at the same time. They got an invoice, and you know, they first they decide on who they gonna mess with, who's popular, whatever the case they want to go by, and yeah, I got called for that. You know what I'm saying? The lawyers got in play, paperwork got done, and you know, I hired Pharaoh and Prince to produce that. That's how it works.
Oh wow!
Work for hire. Yeah.
I mean, this is. Oh, I mean, you're giving us so many jewels here, which is pun intended because of your sophomore effort. But I mean, you're just giving us wisdom because a lot of people. This is so different from how the game works now on so many levels. Because you know, I mean, you know, it was just a different time in terms of how they pretty much was like, okay, we got y'all now. Y'all handle this how y'all want to handle it in terms of because I mean, to have, but soundtracks back in the day, man, I mean, just in general, I mean, we looked at Juice soundtrack, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, Above the Rim.
Mm-hmm.
When we look back at those soundtracks, we're like, I mean, it's still amazing to see these legends that were all on one project together and how it was just so cohesive, you know, and
right.
And I guess the business has just changed so much now, in terms
people
of
that
how
understand the streets that was in charge of that. Like when you put people in power
it meant
positions,
something too, man.
Mhm.
It meant something, you know. I think the music meant a lot more because it was still in the early stages of what it became today. But you know, I mean, I was on a lot of big soundtracks, and a lot of big soundtracks that made big stars out of, you know, actors out of quite a few of them. You know what I'm saying? Rosario Dawson with the Kids soundtrack, Wall Street with Nia Long, Clockers, Low Down Dirty Shame with Q-Tip and Organized. I mean, the list goes on, man. Like, you know, I've seen Mekhi Phifer when he first started. You know what I mean? Like, so I look at all these things as destined paths, but the paths is on you to take the routes that it's gonna keep going. And you know, just at the end of the day, man, all that's a blessing. That's why I said I never answered to certain things. You know, people want to put me in a box and tell me I'm a legend and this and that. I'm cool with it. I just won't say it because it's all a blessing. The whole journey's a blessing. The people who spin your records is a blessing. The people who play your records and interview the journalists, you know, just like artists, you got asshole journalists, asshole artists, vice versa. So it's all a blessing when you run into good things, you know, involving the music business. But y'all know the downside to this too, though, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's a ugly side to this. You know, just some of us don't get caught up in it, and some of us be like, man, it ain't worth my life.
Yeah, you know, and one thing about it is people got to understand, you know, because, you know, going back to what you were saying about how everybody thinks that it's all good, you know, and everything is gravy. Shout out to my man Red Cafe. Shout out to Shakedown, you know, Flatbush, you know, Building 19 where the crew resides. And Red did an interview some years ago, and Red said something that it's always stuck with me, and I've had the pleasure of meeting those guys. Shout out to Bullet, rest in peace. You know, Hollywood, Haiti, you know, Bundy Crumb, all of the crew. You know, and Red said something. He said, when, you know, just because you've been signed doesn't mean that you're rich and that your life has changed. It just means you have an opportunity. Right. You know, and
exactly.
You know, when you go through all of this, what was it like for you when, you know, you got that call from Serch was like, okay, your debut album's been green lighted and we're ready to go with it. What was that like to really know like you were about to embark on doing something that was you? Because Word Life was just an unbelievable piece of work, and it still stands up to this day against anything.
Yeah, I mean, Word Life was demo, like, a lot of that stuff was my life, you know, growing up, you know, my childhood to my preteen, to my teenage, to my early adult. So you try to capture everything in your life up to that point, but you have to capture it. You have to figure out how to capture it in a way where people understand you, right? So for me, it was just like, it's still not real. You know, so he got the deal. He actually got something better than the deal. He's a president of the company that I'm signing to, but it's actually in retrospect a conflict because I'm signed to him as well. You know, but I'm not thinking like this. I'm thinking grateful now. Like, I wouldn't have a deal without him, and it's the truth. But, you know, dude, I can't say nothing bad about Serch, man. He treated me fair. He treated Nas fair. He treated the Searchlight production things fair. He had Ill Bill and them as well. He had a few people signed, but yo, Serch took care of us. Like, he showed us the best way he could, and, you know, without killing his pockets and, you know, not teasing us, but giving us, you know, little treats of what can come from this. And, you know, I've seen the houses, I've seen the cars, I've seen stability, you know, and Word Life was just like, damn, man, like, this is life or death. It's going to make or break who people perceive me as.
Right, and I'm assuming, though, from the cover art of that album that was deliberate because these pictures are vintage in terms of reminiscent of your childhood. Would it be fair to say that?
Absolutely. It's your childhood. It's my childhood. Like I said, I'm painting my picture, but I want people to be like, damn, I could have put that together because that mirrors. Yo, most of us have the same childhood, black or white, especially growing up in not in poverty, so to speak. I ain't grow up in poverty. I wasn't poor, but I wasn't rich. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we all have a similar life growing up, you know, more or less. You know, at least from my era, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted people to relate to that. So I didn't just want to put I didn't want to put my face on the album cover. It was done like twice or three times. It was like a specific thing to do, and I didn't want to do that. So I just said, I'm gonna just put a collage together and put the words on there, and have people always wondering, what the hell is dude? What's the mistake about this guy? Like, he didn't even put his face on the first album cover. That's like some old 70s album cover shit. They never did it hard. Like, that's where I picked it up from. You know what I'm saying? I used to look at old album covers and be like, where's the, I love their voices, but where's the picture? And some had pictures and some didn't, but it made you want to listen. You had to listen to their music to understand it. This is the whole digging, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Now, I want to shoot this question to you. This is just a curiosity question here. It's a little bit outbalanced, but with the term word life, I can't help but recognize that a wrestler used that slogan, go by the name of John Cena, because that came his moniker later on. Now, you took that as a term of flattery, like paying homage to you, or would that be considered biting?
I don't know. You know what? I didn't watch wrestling too tough, so I ain't know John Cena said that. But now I got to go back and check that out. Because I know Bumpy's real tight with dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah,
I'm sure if he was like,
John isn't a bad MC. He's really not a bad rapper. John really has a love for the culture. He really does.
Yeah.
We were suspicious at first.
That's Bumpy's man right there. Like,
yeah. When we really found when we watched the Bad Man video with him and Bumpy. For those that don't know, that's also Freddie Fox. When we watched him, John really has a love for the culture, and we respect John for that. A couple other things I want to say about Word Life too. As dope as Time's Up was, that was not my favorite track up there. It's one of my favorite tracks, but my favorite track up there has to be Point of Views. Point of Views to me, because I believe Buck Wild did the whole album, correct?
He did the bulk of the album, Prince and Mars did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Mars did the original Born to Live. Prince did Constables. OG did No Main Topic, and Finesse did Go Ahead With Yourself.
Got you. But Point of Views to me with that string section was just unbelievable. And I know this song especially, I know the other one, Ma Dukes, was especially special for you because your mother, I believe, was singing on that as well.
Right. Yeah, she harmonized on there. Yep.
Yeah. So, but the album was flawless, man. I mean, it's still one of my. Every time I listen to that, it takes me back to being that 16-year-old kid in 1994, and just you could. It's like a home cooked meal sitting with your family. And like you said, what you said about the collage, the deliberate, the design of the cover art, how it goes beyond color, how it goes beyond gender. It's emblematic. It's representative of every child,
right?
And their coming of age, they're finding their way in the world and having a voice that speaks to them. It's a special album. It's a very special album.
Yeah. I mean, I had another cover for it, but the guy on it's a burly, like, Spanish Puerto Rican guy on the cover of the album, if you look. And he took that picture in passing, and we was cool, but then he passed away too, so I didn't want to take that off my album cover. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. My thing was, and I didn't even know him that well, but we was just we was cool. We spoke, as he was a cordial older dude, you know what I'm saying, OG dude. And he was just always a gentleman. So I just said, I'm not even going to change the album cover. Like, I want his spirit to forever be a part of something. Or his physical appearance, so when people who don't listen to rap, know him and see the like, oh shit, that's Bobo. Like, that's crazy. I didn't know he was on OC. Like, that's crazy. It gave me that kind of feeling to do that. So that's why I kept the album the way it looked.
Now, in the midst of creating that classic, you're also beginning to start forming a bond with, these luminaries, because they were all, of course, Lord Finesse, Buck Wild. Of course, later on, you would meet Diamond D, Premier, the late, great Big L, Fat Joe, So, and then DITC is born. How did you all decide to make that a coalescence of great, a conglomeration of titanic talent? How did that all come together where you all decided, okay, we're going to make this a group?
Well, I believe, and let me make sure I say this correctly. I believe DITC was already a conglomerate under Diamond D and Showbiz, and they worked on Finesse's debut album, which they produced on, which was Diamond D, Showbiz, DJ Premier. This is 1989?
89, 99. Yeah.
91?
Yeah, 89,
89, 90?
It was 89.
Right.
It was 1989.
So, you're talking about, that was DITC already. It was just people who got added on later on. Like, like I said, I mentioned Buck Wild was on tour with Finesse on the Source tour. That's how I met Finesse and Buck. So I believe Finesse was teaching Buck how to use the machine at this point. That was probably his second album, Return of the Funky Man. That's why he was on that Source tour. So Finesse had Buck with him on a few dates. In turn, I met Buck. We kept contact. That's my attachment, so to speak, beginning of DITC, being a part of DITC. Because now I'm clicking with Buck, and he's, up-and-coming producer, and I go up to the Bronx, up to his hood, and he plays me some joints, and, we vibing, you know what I'm saying? No deal yet, no nothing. It's coming, but I didn't see it coming yet. And that's where I met, Buck and Ness. And then later on, after the deal, is when I met Showbiz, Diamond, and Premier. You know what I'm saying? So people don't really understand. The official DITC is Showbiz, Showbiz, Lord Finesse, Diamond D, DJ Premier, Kid Capri. And then we're the add-ons. Myself, Diamond is Fat Joe's add-on, which they all grew up together, but Diamond produces, Fat Joe's promo for Red Alert, which in turns turns into him doing the Apollo, winning 5 nights straight, and turns into a record deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all from a Diamond D promo, and Fat Joe the Gangster was born, and then AG comes along, and that's because him and then you got a dude from Patterson Projects in the Bronx, and Finesse is hearing about him, and he's hearing about Finesse, and it's a guy named The Giant, or Dre, or Andre. They meet up at one of the high schools. They battle each other. They battle so hard that nobody's backing down. Finesse is already working on his album, but he's like, damn, this kid is a monster. And somehow, by some stroke of luck, after that battle, Ness got in contact with A. And that's where his connection became with Showbiz. And that's how the Showbiz and AG thing started happening. And then Big L was next and I was last. You know what I'm saying? So, you know,
Wow.
it's a crazy story. It's something that we didn't put together. It's just something that, you know, everybody had in common. It was the music. And everybody each put out their own solo albums first. You know, instead of doing it traditionally as a group, you would put out your, you know, Into the Wu-Tang 36 Chamber before you put out solo artists, because nobody don't know you. In our case,
right, people
knew us already, but, you know, we didn't put out a crew album until after the fact. You know what I'm saying?
Because we're gonna get we're gonna get to the story behind that crew album. We're gonna get to the story about that album in a minute too, because I want to give our listeners the breakdown of the chronological order, or even out of order, of the records. Lord Finesse, Mike Smooth, that comes out in '89. That's in 1990. Runaway Slave, Showbiz and AG. 1992, that would be Diamond D's Stunt Blunts and Hip Hop. 94 is your album, Word Life. You know,
you missed
95.
Fat Joe though.
Fat Joe, 1993. Fat Joe the Gangster, that's 1993.
Right.
Flo Joe was the lead single. And Joe, I know, and we know about Joey Crack's reputation in the Bronx, because we know he had to kind of win y'all over a little bit, because we know Joe had a reputation for, like, you know, other things. So y'all had to make sure the focus was there, but he proved it, you know. And Joe was 1993. You were 94, of course. Showbiz and AG will come back with the Goodfellas album in 95. And then also this kid from 138th in Harlem, 139th in Harlem, who was, you know, just had all types of just flamboyance, of the flyest fashion. You know, Big L. Tell us about Big L in terms of his impact and just, you know, why he's so revered, in terms of why Lamont Coleman was just this, even with one official album, because unfortunately in 1999 we all know, I believe it was February 22nd. What did Lamont Coleman?
February 15th.
February 15th. I was off that week. Thank you. Don't want to be remiss on that. February 15th. Thank you. You know, because we're gonna get to the DITC album, and your verse on Tribute was just so touching regarding it. What did Big L mean to the crew in terms of what he really brought? Because Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous was just, oh my God.
He was just the future. I mean, it ain't no. I mean, I never get tired of talking about L, but I probably just said everything I probably know about L, because, yo, to be honest, I didn't get enough time with him to know, you know, his deep personal. You know what I'm saying? I know he went on the road with me. You know, we would get money together, do shows together. He would do shows with me, and like he would do with everybody else. But we didn't have enough time, man. Like it all hit so fast. You know, people just didn't understand. I didn't have enough time with him, like everybody else did, and you know. I think a lot of people don't understand that he was the future. I knew it. You know, other people knew it. You know, and from my perspective, I thought him, Fat Joe, and Lord Finesse were the stars of the crew. You know, I think everybody else wasn't looking for the spotlight, so to speak. and they were. You know, I think they were stars personified. It was part of them. And you know, 2 out of 3, I was right.
And you know, it's wild, because a lot of people don't know this story. That actually, you know, is, you know, Big L's, you know, rep and his stardom grew. He was actually going to end up on Rockefeller at one point. He was actually going to be there.
Yeah.
You know, before what happened.
No.
You know.
Yeah, he was going to Rockefeller. You know, it was no secret. Dame was definitely courting him, and you know, he was about to be a star, man. Like that's basically everything in a nutshell. And he was a funny dude, and you know, he was just too young to be murdered that way and shot down like a dog that way. You know. Do I still think about him all the time? But the memory of how he was left, I really like that. That's something that comes and goes with me because I know he wasn't supposed to end up that way. That wasn't his design.
Right.
That was just
it
was just a big loss, man, because when I hear Ebonics, I ain't never heard nothing like that before in my life. That it was one of those records that made your head spin like the Exorcist. Like, yo, this is some fly ish right here.
Yes.
Yeah. Nah. I mean, the kid was, like I said, he was the future. But I see him a lot in Murder Mook. You know, it must be a Harlem thing, but I think. I feel like, just my opinion, someone like Murder Mook is like what people were touting Big L to become in their mind, and Mook is that.
Yeah. You know, when we first heard, because when I first heard this is where I got my education when I was younger in terms of a lot of times how the video versions where the songs don't always match up with the album is Banging His Lifestyle with the Poor and Dangerous was. I love that video version of MVP, which was actually a remix. I did not know this, even though the album version was banging as well. You know, those heavy kick drum snares, but the remix version of the video was just so smoothed out. What King said about Ebonics, though, which was off the Big Picture, the posthumous release in 1999, Ebonics, I tell anybody, if you want to get a crash course on New York slang in terms of even how it's still relevant and hot today, that's a crash course right there. I mean, there are so many one-liners in that, so much slang. You know, I mean, you know, L was people really don't understand the level of genius he had with that. You know.
Yeah, no, I mean, we understood, and we understood that what he did, it took him some time too. You know, it took him maybe a year while we was on tour for the Jules album and stuff like that. But you know, he would tell me lines while I'm on the plane, and I'm like, you know, I'm tired, I don't want to hear it. And when he actually laid it down, it was just like I couldn't be surprised no more. I knew what my crew did. I knew what dudes in my crew did. I knew what the producers and the MCs did. So was it surprising? No, not at all. Like, was it incredible?
Right. Now we don't want to leave this out either, because the group album, which was released in 2000, because I have the Double XL. I'm gonna send you the pictures for that as well, because I have the Double XL magazine where you all were there. That album was on Tommy Boy. What was the dealing behind that? Because the story behind that, as far as I knew, was that you all didn't get to do that album the way you wanted to do. You wanted it to happen. because this also is a question about how record industry politics work. Tell us about what happened with that whole project.
You know the phone cut off and I called back, right?
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, we gonna hurry up and try to get it in. We hope we gonna get the whole question before you got back.
Yeah.
But
so
all right,
I'm assuming I asked about
the DITC album.
DITC album. What you want to know about it?
Yeah. So
wait, Max.
So the record, because like I said before the phone cut, I think we got that. I actually have the double XL magazine from 2000 with all of you in it.
Right.
I'm gonna send you the pictures of that. But
yeah, I got
record,
the pictures of it.
Okay, word. All right, word. Yeah. So the record was dope. But we know that was not the finished version of it. Probably not the way you all wanted it to happen. Because this is also a double question about how industry politics in terms of labels play into it. What was going on with the process of that album, and how come it was only, and from what I understand, the deal was only for one album with you all. What was going on with that project?
A lot of people wasn't in tune with the project. A lot of people, a lot of the crew members weren't happy with the project, the way it was going, whether it be on the, but within our circle, which I ain't gonna, divulge our stuff like that, but
Understood.
internal things, and record label things, and once you get record label kind of hassle, man, if they feel like they're gonna have, a problem out of you, unless you Michael Jackson or somebody, they'll shelf that shit or put it to the side or lose interest or not even have the same interest they had when they came into it with you. They'll just try to get their return and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely looked at the project as, this is something that we probably could have did. But, I don't second-guess things anymore, man. Like, things are what they are. Like, I believe Show put out an official version of it. But by that time, it's now it's a little tainted because people feel a certain way about that record. You know what I'm saying? We had a big record in Day One that was put on that album after the fact. So, I mean, I believe Day One sold more records than that album itself when it was put out independently. You know what I'm saying? And probably brought more light to the project than what we was griping about. You understand? So it was just a lot of things in terms of how certain people felt about the record, how the record company was seeing a little infighting and stuff like that. And, like I said, once you give the record company a little grief, they'll kind of lose interest on it.
Because I know, once again, I got it the day that it dropped, and I'm so glad that I did, because once again, I know how much that album is worth on eBay. I saw it, and that's just for the cassette. I think the cassette was going for like $100 or better. This is before I got on my wax game, because I didn't get into actual collecting albums until 2006, but I had a shitload of cassettes up until then, including that. Because the project, I love the project. Tribute, the last song, of course, where all of you, I mean, it was just so touching. It was a more than suitable. It was honorable send off to L. I mean, all of you, Finette, everybody, AGU, Finette, you all, you did his legacy justice. His hip hop heads, we thank you for that, because you all articulated on that what we had felt, but you all were there to say it for all of us. And I don't care what nobody say or say. I'm glad that record was released. I'm glad I have it, and I still keep it in rotation. Want to jump back?
Yeah, I'm proud of I'm proud of everything that we done. Like I said, looking back in hindsight, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. So everything ain't always gonna be what you consider how it should be, you know. And you look at it years later and say, oh, this is what it was meant for.
Definitely. Want to jump back to 97 because this is when your sophomore effort, Jules, comes out. You, of course, have the crazy lead-off single, you know, with the basically the interpolation of Tevin Campbell's Tomorrow, and you have, you know, Chrisette Michelle singing. Not Chrisette Michelle. I got those. I can't believe I got them names crossed up like that. With your girl singing the hook.
Yeah.
You know, but what was that
Michelle,
like?
You right.
Yeah, Chrisette Michelle, because I'm thinking of Chrisette Michelle, because I wanted to make sure I didn't get it crossed up with the other singer, of course. Yeah, but what was that like in terms of yeah. Even I be thinking so fast, I'll be tripping my own self up. Yeah, Yvette Michelle, thank you. Yvette Michelle, thank you. Yes, Yvette Michelle. Then there's Chrisette Michelle. Even I threw myself off. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, but you had she, you know, she's coming off of her single Every Night, Every Day off the Funk Master Flex mixtape. You're getting her to sing the hook. Y'all got a crazy-ass visual in the islands. I mean, you got a hot-ass... I mean, how did that project come together? Because I think you released this on Payday Records, correct? This was this wasn't on Wild Pitch. What was the story behind that?
Basically, I was looking for a new deal. I was still touring, but I knew I had to work on a new album. So I started basically doing a lot of admin work, like a lot of features, a lot of stuff like that. And in the midst of it, I started, you know, listening to new music for the new album even before I had another deal in place. But then I met J. Rule, and J. Rule introduced me to this cat called Mr. Dave that managed J. Rule, and he was part of the Gangstar Foundation, and I started demoing new music, you know what I'm saying? And fast forward, you know, that new music turned into Jules. And the Far From Your single is actually not an interpretation of Tevin Campbell. It's actually the interpretation of the Brothers Johnson who did it. Quincy Jones did it with his brother Johnson.
Okay, because I always thought when they did
Tomorrow, that's where I get the sample.
Okay, got you.
When I did the original sample that me and Buck used comes from the Brothers Johnson and Quincy Jones. And they remade it when they introduced Tevin Campbell to the world. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I didn't know that.
So my joint, so if you listen to the reversion of what Quincy did with Tevin, and you pull up the Brothers Johnson version with Quincy Jones, it's the same, but you could tell it sounds more 90 as opposed to the more than like sound like the 70s, but it's the same music, you know, produced by Quincy Jones, both versions. But I used the Brother Johnson's version.
And that's gangster right there in a good way, because I mean, I guess it's a perfect segue too, because Quincy obviously wrote it. He owns the publishing for that, so he could do that. Because the original, because I was a young dude when I was a young boy when that album came out, you know, back on the block in 1990. So when I first heard Tevin's, I did not know that was actually used before that, which is great, you know, because you're bridging eras. What do artists need to know in the business? Yeah.
You know,
what do artists need to know in the business? Go ahead.
You know, Quincy Jones used to put out artists, and Brothers Johnson was one of them artists, and people don't even realize that that's their song. You know, the original songs is the original song is theirs, not Kevin's.
Yeah.
Right.
Strawberry Letter 23 that Seven singing. That's now I have that album. They're on that album, Brother Johnson. And that's for our listeners out there. If you have not heard that record, you're missing out.
Exactly.
You're missing out.
Now, what was your question after that?
About the business aspect, because Quincy was able to do that because Quincy owns his publishing, of course. You know,
right.
And another musical trivia, because we got to big up Quincy, that Austin Powers theme music. Guess who wrote that too?
Mm-hmm.
Quincy Jones.
Exactly. Yo, dude is a publishing. Well, a lot of people don't realize Michael Jackson owned half of the publishing on the planet, but literally. But yeah, Quincy does too. Like Quincy probably taught him how to get into the publishing game, and at some point they was like, they started not feeling Mike after he started. He owned half of the world's publishing. Think about that.
And we got to throw this in too, because when you say half of it, people still forget about what Mike did in 1987. That is still crazy when he bought the Beatles catalog for $47 million.
All right, yeah, that's cool. But he owned anything you could name. Just think about it. Him and Tommy Mottola was fighting over publishing.
Because we heard that story. That was a true story, because we had heard, because King and myself, we heard the story about that Michael had owned half of Sony's publishing. So that is true. That really was happening. Okay, got you. Thank you.
That's the truth. Wow. That's probably why he's dead. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that deep. Like that's like think about this. Look how everything shut down when Hollywood shut down.
Right.
You see that awkward silence we just experienced just now? That's what happens if you Michael Jackson and you own Smells Like Teen Spirit to Frank Sinatra to all those 50s bands.
Beyonce. We heard about Beyonce.
Dolly Parton. He owned all of that shit from back then to whatever timeline till now. To his death.
That's crazy.
You know.
And publishing is
you started singing
the level of gangster.
Yeah. It's a whole nother. Sam Cooke ain't dead because of no prostitute, man. You know what I'm saying? Which one of their planes went down? Wilson Pickett's plane went down?
No. But Otis Redding. He died at 29.
Otis Redding plane went down, right? On takeoff. All these shits is suspicious deaths and killings, and because Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, what's the guy that Mos Def played? Chuck Berry. All these dudes was coming together to own publishing, to start a publishing company. And they wasn't having it, especially when the mob was running shit. Like, they wasn't having that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's crazy, because when you talk about that, rest in peace to Jerry Heller. We know Jerry has a complicated history, but Jerry talked about the situations where they got a lot of those guys like Nat Turnpool, a lot of those old gangsters, and he talked about with the situation where he allegedly hung Jackie Wilson over a balcony. And, Jerry said the only reason I can talk about it now is because all those guys are dead. But he's like, when you hear stories, when you hear the stories about how those old mafia guys were shaking down those black artists, that is absolutely true.
Yo, man, Otis Redding, Sam Cooke, all these guys, Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry gets caught you know, he like white girls, right? So he gets caught supposedly with some underage white girls. But just by them barring him from hotels and him not eating in restaurants and shit like that, I think dude saved like $100,000 in 1 year. Touring the country, like, because he was black and all he was good for was singing. So in turn, they didn't even realize this guy saved $100,000 in 1 year from shows because they wouldn't let them in their white establishments. Which is, you know, when you think about things like that right now, and us being in the music business, it's going on still, but it's just going on in different ways. And I believe with Michael, the publishing game was his thing. He was telling people, he was telling all of us to get into that.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at Prince, you know, look at how Prince was fighting with Warner Brothers all those years. You know, King wrote a hell of a great article about it, you know, in terms of, you know, how Prince was, you know, how Prince had to fight for all those years for his name, you know. And
when you turn that corner at this point, and people start paying attention, when Martin Luther King gave speeches, when he gave that speech about economics, that's when he got murdered. You understand? Like, he was like, hold on, man. Now, they wasn't used to King talking tough.
Right.
They was used to him turning the other cheek, getting his head split. But he said, yo, man, this is an economic, I get it. It's an economic. It's like, yo, he got to go. Because people listen to him, black and white, and if people realize that,
across the political spectrum,
you know.
Hey, y'all know what? You know what a cold game is too, man. It's like when we go beyond going platinum and we go beyond going gold, and we start getting into the business aspects of things. That's when you start seeing the rules change. Just like even when we start seeing when I think it was Irv Gotti and Jay Prince and Suge, they was talking about forming a distribution company, and
Black Record Company.
Look what happened. Look what happened. They chased Jay Prince. I believe the thing, and I don't know for sure, but I believe what St. Jay Prince is, he got good. He connected with his people. He got Texas behind him.
Shout out to Maxine Waters. Yeah, shout out to Maxine Waters in California. He had Aunt Maxine behind him too. You know, when they were giving him those problems.
You know, he got people behind him, and you know, he left the streets alone. So what they was gonna get him on running a successful record label. Same with Suge Knight. I mean, Suge was thugging a little bit, but Suge, he made $100 million off the Above the Rim soundtrack. They knew he was a problem.
Yeah.
You know, Irv Gotti and Ja Rule and them started selling stupid records, Murder Inc. It was a problem. Because now you can turn your demand up to a different level. You know what I'm saying? You can ask for things. Don't mean you're gonna get everything, but you know, we all know if you step too far out of bounds, you know, they spank you.
Yeah, and we've seen that a lot.
Quick question I want to shoot you too. I want to shoot you too is, do you see, now you know your fellow Brooklynite, Jay-Z, do you see the way that he's maneuvering in the game? Do you see that as being calculating and people should further follow that imprint on how he's doing it?
On how who's doing it? Jay Prince?
Jay-Z.
No,
Jay-Z.
I mean, we supposed to learn certain things from each other. It shouldn't. The reason why I love Dame Dash, and I've been telling people Dame been that dude, is because he always gave away game. Dame never held on to game. Dame gave the game away from early on. You see how he was screaming on motherfuckers? If you talk to any Rockefeller artist without talking to Dame Dash, you had a problem. So now he's a big mouth, loud mouth black dude. But white people do the same thing with their artists. If you talk to my artists without consulting me first, they throw you out the building. He built an investment. He built Rockefeller. And, they all built it. But we all see Dame was a big part of the brain, building Rockefeller. And people know it, and I know it. And a lot of, and it is what it is. And now everybody's coming to Dame for advice. Now everybody's coming to him. And, me and him call each other or text each other on our birthdays every year. That's how we stay in contact. Dame runs a network. I could be so visible if I want, man, but they know with me and him, it's not music. It's a friendship. It's a brotherhood, so to speak. We don't see each other every day. We don't talk every day. But when he calls me, I call him back. Vice versa.
Right.
We don't have to speak every day, but when he calls me and asks me how I'm doing, that beats a hell of a lot of me and him talking every day. And vice versa, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a different brotherhood. I don't have to ask him for anything. If I don't have to borrow. I don't have to. If I need something, I can get it. That's where we at. And I don't have that relationship with a lot of people in the music business, especially, somebody like Dame Dash. A lot of people try to get close to him. I never had no problem getting close to him. Like, I got Jay on a hook. A Miss Hard Knock Life right after the Hard Knock Life tour. You know how much Jay was worth?
A whole lot.
Yeah. We're talking about a 100,000 verse, like a song or something like that. Like, literally, not figuratively, literally. Like, and I put in a call. I seen Dame, and I was like, yo, I got an idea. I need Jay to do a chorus for me. And that was actually for the Jewels album, but it just didn't make it on there. It was too late.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's another Brother Johnson sample. And Bonafide, that's the name of the record. That's another Brother Johnson sample. The irony in that. Word.
And the cold part is Jay. He said he was $100 million man on the track "Dope Man." That came out like in '99.
Yeah, that was off of volume. That was off volume 3.
Right, but literally, like, they successfully put the Hard Knock Life tour together themselves. They financed it, everything. So, like I said, they was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and I was blessed to get that. Yo, ain't your record coming? You need the help, like. And I should be like, nah, I'm good. And I would see Dame in the Universal building. He'd be like, you good? You sure? Like, hey, your record's supposed to be popping the way you need to think about coming over here. Like, he was really about that life with that shit. Like, Dame was trying to corner the market. Kanye's no fluke. We know Jay ain't like Kanye. Everybody know. I mean, we know what it is. Jay didn't like Kanye at first. He wanted him to just stick to producing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was Dame. That was Dame's vision. And Biggs, if I'm not mistaken, they seen it. And Jay was like, man, he's cool.
Now we want to talk to you about that. Seeing that you brought that up, and where obviously this is just for academics, because Kanye talked about that on one of his songs about the whole journey that he went through getting signed. Because we know some of the story, you've given us a little bit more to it. Because I know Kanye, from of course, he didn't want to sign with Def Jam at first, because Rockefeller rather, because he wanted to kind of go out on his own to see what he could do for himself, and it's like everybody turned him down. I believe he was supposed to get a deal with Universal. Correct me if I'm wrong on the label. I believe it was Universal, one of those, I believe it was Universal. He was supposed to sign with them, but at the 11th hour, they decided that they didn't want to sign him. So then he came back to Rockefeller, and he ended up with them. And then that's when, of course, they went to work on College Dropout.
I don't know his business like that, right, but I don't believe that's the way it happened. I believe he was already signed to Rockefeller, but
he had a producer credit, but it was about being a rapper.
Right, but I believe they basically wasn't. He didn't have any. If I'm not mistaken, he didn't have any personal music as of yet. Like the way he was known, he wasn't known yet for them to sign him to a deal. So in turn, his fate and destiny happened different. We see what it played out. Like he had a car accident, and you see what his first record was. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Through the Wire.
He was sitting on the shelf for a minute. Yeah, he put his own record out. He put up his own money. This is what people don't really understand about. Yeah, he went against Dame and Rockefeller and Jay and them. He was signed to them already, and he was like, I'm not letting this accident mess up my chance. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I believe he went full steam ahead, and I guess Dame, that proves something else to Dame, besides Dame doing everything for everybody else, that, damn, this artist is doing his own thing. And he did that with Cam, too. Cam turned around and basically took some of his blueprint that Dame gave to him and figured out how to move and market Dipset. You know what I'm saying? So, we got some intelligent guys in our culture, man, like, contrary to what people think. Like, we some intelligent human beings, and this is how it usually plays out, We usually come up with the formulas, the answers, the dances, the clothing, the culture, and somebody usually rates it or takes it. You know what I'm saying? And
you know what?
And I feel like Dame is probably one of the few men who voice it, or who's been voicing it from day one. Because once they got some power, he flexed his muscle. But we see how that turned out. His man went one way, he went another way.
Right.
Now the switch gears for a minute and going back to your career, I want to talk about possibly one of my favorite albums from you, and you released this like in 2005 called Star Child. And that album there was incredible to me, man, from the soulful vibe that you brought throughout the whole thing. What was it like recording that, and was it ever released in the United States? Because I got lucky because a friend of mine had it, and he had real good connections in New York, and I was able to get it from him.
Star Child was something that, again, that was, it was like the DITC project for me. Like, it was something that wasn't finished. And, I was paid to do the project. So my control over it was the creative aspect. But what Holmes did with it after the project was done was out of my hands. You know what I'm saying? He was respectfully, telling me what he think should do. But, again, that project to me wasn't the greatest of projects that I've done. You know what I'm saying? But the people spoke, man, and I can't go against it. And it turns out I perform some of those records when I'm usually out on my own.
And the cold part is you can't even find it in the States.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing right now. For me, it's definitely it's a great thing. We in catalog mode. I'm in my golden years. Who won it? You know what I'm saying? Like, from a business aspect standpoint, it's a good thing for me. I wish I could have did that I definitely like the project. I just wish I could have did different things, to it. And I'm glad you dug it or dig it, but the album cover wasn't a representation to me. Not to say I don't represent those elements, but it was, I guess, Homeboy's vision. Yo, to me, it was. Let me say something so y'all don't get me have any misunderstandings. I believe there's fans, and I believe there's supporters, and I like to explain that to people sometimes because I don't talk too much. But I feel like people that are fans or really, really fanned out want you to make the same projects over and over again. So if some guy just got onto me during the Star Child era, anything I made after that is shit to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, trophies, Same Moon, Same Sun, DITC Studio Sessions, Volume 1, New Dawn, Dudes is like, them projects is bullshit. Starts, and I'm like, yo, dogs, how you was introduced to me just from that project, but I've been here since 1991. They ain't trying to hear that. So I have to look at things from a different aspect. Supporters are people who will buy your shit no matter what the outcome is of your project. If that shit is dope or if it's not dope. A fan will actually tell you what you're doing wrong. And I'm not saying this for every person who consider themselves fans of music or other people's music, but every person I done ran into that said they were fans of my music always tell me what albums they don't like and why I shouldn't have made it. And I used to get upset, but I laugh about it now because I'm like, damn, man, music is a powerful thing. People really take serious what you say to them or what you interpret to them, so you have to be careful on how you interpret things to people. And I don't know. I respond to certain things. If you say you're a fan, I'm cool with it. But if you say you support my music, you'll probably get more of a conversation out of me than telling me you're a fan for the rest of the night. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you're fan. Because the one thing about supporters, though, supporters understand your growth and your maturation. They understand there's an evolution in the process of creativity. Exactly. And you're not going to.
Fans just want you to make times up 20,000 times. It's like, yo, I can't do that, man. Like, I can't make Jewels again. I can't make Star Child again. Sure, you can. And they'll tell you can too. And it's like, nah, man. You have to understand. Each human being has their things. We all have a journey. So, you're not going to dress, look, feel the same ways you did yesterday. It's just impossible. Mathematically, scientifically, philosophically, however you want to say it, it's just not possible. I can try to duplicate it, but it's just something that happened in the moment. At 20-something years of age, and that's what came out. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a 49-year-old man now. Like, time's up. Nah, dog. I don't know what that is at this point. I know what it is, but if you asking me for that, I can't do that.
But you know what's wild too is, even if let's hypothetically say you start and you do a new album with Pete Rock and Premier, people gonna still complain, be like, hey, it didn't sound like it did in '97, or Pete Rock ain't got it no more.
Exactly. Yo, that's like me asking J. Rule to do Come Clean again. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you have to repeat Come Clean, Rule. And it's crazy, man. Yo, I got stories, man, but one particular story, I was overseas. We was doing a DITC run in Europe, doing a festival run, and yo, I seen one John Lennon-ish type of fan online for like an hour. And I just kept my eye on him for the whole hour. So when he finally got up to the table, yo, he didn't want to buy a record. He didn't want to get an album signed, nothing. All he wanted to tell me was how much he disliked my third album and the disdain he had for me making that album. That's some crazy shit right there. So I asked Duke, you stood on, I seen you online, but you stood online an hour to tell me that. And, you know, he basically was like, yeah, AG got him kicked out of the spot. Because you're like, yo, you should, like, we got to be careful with people like that. Like, it could really happen. And we bust out laughing, and I was like, y'all laughing, I'm laughing, but this shit is serious. Like, people literally take what you say to heart, man. That's mind-boggling, and it's a gift, and you can't misuse that. And I mean, y'all know that too. Y'all journalists, man. Y'all DJs. Like, yo, you play the wrong record, you gonna stop the party.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or you say the wrong thing online, and people gonna call to blow your phone up. It's
hitting you up.
Yeah, just, you know, so the whole support and fan thing, I just have a lot of different aspects on different things, man. You know, albums to me are like, they're not like, they're different chapters in my life, like a book. Like I wrote a book already, like with 14 chapters. I got 14 albums to my credit. To date, you know, that's a book.
Yeah. You know, and the one thing about it is that I think at the end of it, is that nobody knows their story better than the one who can tell it if they're honest with themselves about the narrative that they want to, you know, give discourse to. You know, and one thing about it,
and nobody knows how their story is going to end either.
Right, that is absolutely true. We don't know how it's going to end. You know, because every day as we live in the present, that's the perpetual page that we're still scribing in our existence of what goes on. You know, we don't know. You know, as we wake up, yeah, exactly. We wake up, we don't know how the day is going to end. We hope and pray that we'll be alive for the next. Sometimes it doesn't happen like that for God. It's the dead for so many that, you know, it ended that way. But, you know, you always have a chance as long as you're alive, especially being an artist, which I think is why hip-hop is such a visceral, it's such a vivacious, it's such a vibrant art form, because it's so intimate in terms of the wordplay and the expression. It's the ultimate form of creativity. It's rap, rhythm, and poetry. It's about you being able to tell your story through your words over the music you want to express it over. And like you said, you know, you know, people hopefully, you know, rock with it. You know, one thing
I'm gonna go as far as saying the music is stopping things from really happening today. Like, people don't, this is the biggest form of music ever, man. Like, this connects a whole planet, right? And it actually gives dialogue to people who don't speak the same languages, not the same colors, and, you know, this shit can save your life. It saved my life on numerous occasions, you know, in different settings. But, this is probably one of the few things that's stopping us from going the Civil War or any kind of, like, unrest that's going on right now. I'll go as far as to say that hip-hop can link the world, man.
And Buster said it best some years ago. I think it was at the Grammys. It was one of those award shows. He said, let's keep it real. Hip hop gave a lot of people jobs. I mean.
Yeah, gave a lot of people jobs, gave a lot of people second lives. I think, shout out to Bus. Bus just put out Extinction Level event too. And,
yes. Ooh.
God.
Dope.
Come on, man. Like, this is what we come from. Like, we promoted each other's projects. We bought each other's projects. Some of us sold more records than others, but we all look at each other as equals, with some of us, with most of us. And this is probably saving lives right now, and I ain't talking about just monetary wise. I'm talking about what's going on out here right now, like voting, racial, civil, economic. People, I'm probably selling more streams than I ever sold in my life, and I ain't into all of that. I'm probably selling getting more royalty. My royalty checks are more bigger because of this pandemic. Like, the one thing that people want to wind down from when they don't have a job, or if they do have a job and they got to work extra to triple shifts just to put that food on the table, is music. Music gets people by, man. And I'm just lucky enough to be, in that fraternity. Because it's, we artists, so we are in some sort of fraternity. But for people to find money to buy your projects, knowing that they might not be in a home next week, it's no words for that. Some would say it's stupid, but it's like, nah, people are trying to get their problems off their back, man. So if it takes something like spending an extra few dollars that they don't have to buy some music, you can't ask for nothing, no better support than that. You know what I'm saying? And it's really happening. I'm not proud of it, and I'm not glorifying it, but I made more money, during the pandemic than I probably ever made just on a normal, quarter-to-quarter basis of receiving royalties and stuff like that. I've never seen royalties like this before.
Now, talking about royalties, and because we talked about the importance of royalties and knowing when your music is being licensed to different avenues such as movies and soundtracks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, they first heard of her. I heard of you in Time's Up when Eminem used that joint on 8 Mile for the battle. Now, what was your reaction to that when you first heard it up there?
I told the story with somebody else, but I'll tell it again, and I'll make it even shorter. Basically, prior to 8 Mile coming out, maybe a couple of years before, while they was doing it, me and my manager got a call about a movie called 8 Miles from Eminem, and it was in the makings or whatever. It might have been more than 2 years prior to that. It took maybe about 2-3 years to make 8 Mile. Anyway, the debut of the movie that weekend was $100 million. So people was calling me after midnight on Friday when that movie came out and was like, yo, you heard? And I'm like, no, what are y'all talking about? And they're like, yo, it's a scene in the beginning of the movie, at least a minute and some change, where he freezes up on Time's Up. And I'm like, oh, what? And I thought about it, and I was like, oh, shit, nobody cleared that with me. So I got on the phone Monday and got to talk to my lawyer. In turn, he contacted their lawyer. In turn, somebody made a mistake on Eminem's behalf, not researching the the parties involved with that record. So they had to pay me. They had to pay Slick Rick. They paid. They said they paid, which they meant Buck Wild, which who's Anthony Best. And they had to pay me. You know what I'm saying? So we had to work out a number now. And I did all right, but had I held out maybe another year, I'd have probably made off like a fat rat. I'd have been considered a piece of shit. Put it like that.
Well, one thing about it though, one thing about it though, it's all business, and a piece of shit you're not, but you are the shit in terms of one of the best to ever do it. To see you,
thank you.
To see you at 49, we got a little bit of time left, but we got to put this in here. If there is nothing else, and shout out to Complex for doing this article as well. I read it the other day about how older rappers are really, this has been a great year for a lot of the older MCs, Griselda, so many other artists, who are older, Busta, who are still dropping, who dropped albums. It's like you all are the foundation in terms of what hip-hop represents at its very best. And we're all the more richer on this planet and the universe across the board for you all still being with us. You're a necessity, and we need you here. And don't ever stop contributing. Don't ever stop cultivating. Don't ever stop creating. And, just stay being that luminary of, that star, man. I mean, your constellation is essential for everything being aligned in the universe of space, time and space, man. You all, the hip-hop community will always need you, no matter what.
I appreciate it, man. I just know it's room for other people, and the whole Star Child moniker is stars eventually burn out, but it's a long time before a star burns out. You know what I'm saying? Like it can take millions, billions of years, but it does eventually fizzle. You know what I'm saying? And I'm good with that. I'm good with that for another star to replace that. Like, we all stars, man. Like, we living, we breathing. I believe y'all enjoy what y'all do. I damn sure enjoy what I do. I think we're part of I think we're all part of a fraternity where, it's never been nothing like it. I've seen old people embrace what I do. No English, I've eaten in Slovenia, which is not far from Transylvania and macadamia and all of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been in these places. I've been near Prussia. I've been all over the world, man. Like, so to see people, it's still surreal. Like, to know, people reciting my lyrics and don't speak a word of English, man. It's amazing. It's the human beings are amazing. We amazing. So I don't take none of this for granted, man. Like I said, I went through my time, feeling a certain way, but then I'm like, damn, man, like some people ain't even made it this far, and it's not even about that, but you just gotta be blessed on what you have, little or lot. It's the same thing. It don't matter. You just gotta count your blessings, man. And, I'm still writing. I'm like you said, I'm still writing chapters.
Well,
yes, sir. Now Yeah, I was gonna say that, we about to wrap this up shortly because, we running out of time, but you have any shout outs you want to give out, and you have any other work that you have in the going that you want to promote?
Shout out to everybody on the planet, man. We in a tub of gumbo right now. Like, it's crazy, and I'm not giving no personal shout out. I'm giving shout outs to the whole planet because, we in for something. I don't know, good or bad. I hope we get through it. I got projects, a couple of more projects I'm working on, but at this point, man, probably one more solo album. I've never stopped doing features as long as I want to do them, but probably my last solo album before May next year, before my 50th birthday, and that'll probably wrap up my cipher with making records as far as solo. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of this last solo album and how people receive it, and hopefully I have a few surprises for y'all. You know what I'm saying? You said it best earlier. I'd rather do it than talk about it. So, that's where my mind is at, and just seeing where this goes after this election, man. Because I hope we still around. You know what I mean? Like, I hope they don't start shooting on bombs and shit, man. It's really critical, man. I've never been afraid before.
Well, it's like this, man. If nothing else,
we gotta take it a day at a time, man.
Yeah, we got a pandemic. We dealing with an economic crisis and a race war at the same time. It's never happened before. Not even in our parents' lifetime.
I'm thinking about pulling a Nas from Belly and just Africa looking pretty good right now.
Yeah. It does, doesn't it? They trying to tell people come out here. Ghana is like, yo, y'all can come over here. We got y'all.
Ghana's telling all black people from all over the world, come home.
Yeah, and it's politics with that. You just can't, y'all know visas and stuff. At least I know what it is. Like, you got visas, so you can be on a 30, 60, 90, or a year visa, and then they'll track you down and kick you out of their country. Like, so it's a lot of politics with that too, man, and it takes a little finances. But I hope we make it. I hope whatever's coming, we weather it. But it's people ain't being realistic. And to wrap this up, this is the reason why I haven't put out a project yet. I'm like, yo, are we gonna survive a project? I don't want to just talk about a pandemic. Like, people already suffering. Like, I want to talk about some things that make people feel good. I don't want to talk about the pandemic and race war and economic. Like, I don't think people want that at the moment.
Right. Nah, people dealing with a lot already.
The Benny and them too, man. Shout out to the whole Gazelle. They putting out music. Buster put out music. So people still get
keeping our mind off.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
Yeah.
Even though Buster said Extinction Level event years ago, and now it's part 2, so he done brought shit to life. You know what I'm saying? Like, his title came to life.
Yeah, but like I said, I gotta say it again, man. As long, there's nothing wrong as long as you are a polished MC. If you just love if you just have a legitimate love of doing it, even if you're not signed, even if you're not famous. I tell anybody, don't let nobody say that you're too old to do anything as long as you love it. You know, and like I said, Busta's in his late 40s. Benny and them, they're in their late 30s, early 40s, and I mean those guys are just, whew. I mean those boys on a whole. I tell a lot of and this is not a shot to all the young rappers out there, but for those rappers that are not, whose bars ain't as strong as theirs, lifting those linguistics, y'all need to take notes, because the distinguished dudes out there, they put in some of these young boys to shame in terms of giving them lessons about how you flow, and
and just how to make music, man. Like, yo, I'm 49, but I'm not doing it on. I don't look my age, I look like Jewel's album. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
you haven't aged a day.
What? I've aged. I just haven't aged. We put it like this. I'm gonna say we haven't aged the way you run into that ex-girlfriend or your homeboy from high school, and
right.
They was slim. They had the looks and all that, and 20 years later they look like Oompa Loompa. You know what I'm saying? So I don't look like that. I'm like, nah. People be like, yo, I'm younger than you, right? Nah, we the same age. Like, stop it. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't do it to yourself. You the same age as me. I stopped the bullshit early.
Tell everybody, man, look, eating right, not get into that heavy drinking and smoking. That's important. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I'm preserving what I have, man. Like, I eat 1 meal a day, maybe. You know what I'm saying? I don't drink really, you know what I'm saying? Not to say I drink when but I haven't had a drink in a minute. It's probably been almost a year just because of everything that's going on. I'm like, yo, I got to be in shape just in case, I'm fighting for my life. You know what I'm saying? But I've always been in some kind of shape. But, this just turned it up a whole nother level.
So real, man. The best thing we could do is protect our family, protect our loved ones, and ourselves the best way we possibly can.
Right. And as black people, we gotta basically fix ourselves, man. We gotta. Every other race fix themselves or huddle around each other. We have to huddle around ourselves as well, good or bad. Like, we got to deal with the bad ones accordingly, and we got to filter out the bullshit from the people who really want to have another generation, and just keep it moving, man. Because we endangered, man. Black people are endangered, not because it sound cool or this is because of a man. That's how they look at us, man.
Yeah.
To this day.
Definitely.
So we gotta be on point.
So yeah, man. But on that note, man, you definitely welcome to come aboard, man. I want to let the people know that tomorrow night I'm launching a new venture called Screwball Radio with my man Black Poet from the Screwball Clique. We're gonna be launching that tomorrow night on Saturday night. So for the rawest hip hop, raw discussions, be sure to tune into that one. Y'all ain't gonna want to miss that one.
Indeed.
Definitely, man. Well, as we close this show out, man, we close shop on this particular show, but we're not doing a curtain call for you, Ghetto, because we know you still got a hell of a show to put on in terms of giving us some of your best work, man. We know it's we know you still got more outstanding opus that's coming.
Indeed. Definitely, man. What y'all said, I'm episode 346.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. See, That's my mind. I remember everything.
Definitely, man.
Yeah, we gonna keep pushing, man. I said we definitely gonna keep this trailblazing going, man.
Indeed, and I just want to thank y'all for having me, man. And it's an honor, it's a pleasure, and I can't wait to be back on the joint and chop it up about some other things. You know what I mean?
Look, whenever you're ready, man, just let us know. Just let us know.
Indeed. All right,
and on that note, I'm about to...
And just get at me or just let me know, man, and let's connect again.
We'll do. You know we're gonna stay in touch with you, man. We'll be in touch with you.
Indeed. All right.
All right.
Holla, man.
All right, just stay up. All right. Peace.
Definitely. Peace. One. And we out.